On episode 9 of Troy Grady's incredible Cracking the Code lesson series here on YouTube, he describes at great length this thing that he found called the Poptarts Lick, which is a lick that he made up that sort of unlocked and revealed to him a lot of the mysteries and effective patterns that are usable with downward pickslanting for extremely high-speed playing. This week's lick is going to be something that I made up that was sort of inspired by the Poptarts Lick that'll hopefully give you guys some ideas about how you can incorporate some of these patterns into your own playing for maximum shreddability. Hey chums, and welcome to this week's installment of Weekend Wankshop, here with your good buddy, Uncle Ben. As many of you loyal watchers know, I'm a gigantic fan of Troy Grady's incredible Cracking the Code lesson series here on YouTube. It showed me a lot of things about other players' picking and my own picking that I had totally overlooked and ignored for years, and opened up a whole lot of new possibilities for my own high-speed playing. The first really big focus of the series centers itself on the practice of downward pickslanting, which is a picking technique and strategy employed by a lot of top-notch players like Yngwie, Eric Johnson, and a lot of other dudes. Be sure to watch all the Cracking the Code stuff available on YouTube to learn the most about it, but the quickest primer I can say is, like, if these are the strings, downward pickslanting means that the pick is being turned at a slight downwards angle, like this right here. What this does, as opposed to regular just sort of flat up and down picking, is it means that whenever you have the pick tilted in that downward pickslanting position, the downstrokes tend to bury the tip of the pick in the strings, and the upstrokes tend to pop out away from the strings. This means that it's very easy to change strings after an upstroke, since the tip of the pick is free and out of the way of the strings. So what this means is that any pattern that has you ending on an upstroke is really great to use with downward pickslanting, because then it's going to be easy to change strings after that. What this means is that if you're starting with a downstroke, any pattern that is even numbers, say 2s, 4s, 6s, or 8s, is going to end in an upstroke, making it easy to change to the next adjacent string, or a string a couple away. What you can learn from the original Poptarts Lick on episode 9 of Cracking the Code is a couple of different really effective patterns for downward pickslanting using even numbered notes per string going through the strings of the guitar. Today's lick that we're going to be looking at is one that I made up for you guys to practice those Pop-Tarts concepts, only this one's in the key of E minor and runs down all 6 strings of the guitar and covers quite a lot of the neck. But before we start getting into it, let's hear it again at stepdad speed. And as always, you can find a full tab for this week's lick over on my Instagram page, so be sure to find me over at Ben Eller Guitars and give me a follow. Find the tab for this week's lick, learn how to play it, then upload a video of yourself shredding through it along with the hashtag Weekend Wankshop. So the original Poptarts Lick by Troy sounds like this. It's a really cool lick in A harmonic minor that shows you a whole bunch of different ways to get around changing strings after upstrokes, which is the primary power of downward pickslanting. It starts off with an 8-note grouping on one string, a 6-note grouping on the next, and then a 2-note group on the next string. So again, all of those string changes take place after upstrokes. So it's 8, 6, 2, 8, 6, 2, and resolve like that. Today's lick is going to utilize that same concept of 8, 6, 2, only it's going to be a little bit longer and go down the neck a little bit more. Here is the first chunk of the lick. Now what I'm doing here is I'm starting off my 12th fret high E string, 15, 14, 12, then I'm going to shift down here to the 10 on the E, 14, 12, 10. So on the E string we play 8 notes. And again, that makes it to where the last note we played was an upstroke, which makes it easy to get to the B string for the next segment. Now this is pretty easy to do here. I'm playing 13, 12, and 10 on the B string twice. That gives you 6 notes, which again means you're going to be ending on an upstroke. Down, up, down, up, down, up. And then the 2-note grouping on the G string is just going to be the 12th fret G and then the 11th fret G. So here's the whole first segment. Next part of the lick is going to use that 3-note segment that we used on the B string a second ago as our starting point for our 8-note grouping. We're going to play 10, 13, 12, 10, and then shift down to 8 on the B string, 12, 10, 8. So again, that used that same starting point we had in the last segment. Shift down. On the G string here, we're going to have our group of 6, which is going to be the 11th, 9th, and 7th fret G string notes played 2 times in a row. So 11, 9, 7, 11, 9, 7. And then on the D string is going to be your 2-note grouping, which is going to be the 10th fret D, then the 9th fret D. So the entire second segment will sound like... There's the third segment here. Now what we're going to do is to start off with that same 3-note grouping we played on the G in the last part here. We're going to play 7, 11, 9, 7, then shift down to the next note in the scale, the C note here on fret number 5. We're going to play 5, 9, 7, 5. So there's our 8-note group on the G. On the D string here, you're going to have your 6-note group, which is going to be 9, 7, 5, 2 times in a row. And then your 2 notes on your A string is going to be 9 and then 7. So our third segment goes... Here's the next part here. Now we're going to start off on the D string 5, 9, 7, 5. Go down to the next scale note here, fret number 4, your F sharp note. You're going to play 4, 7, 5, 4. There's our 8 notes. Next on the A string here, you're going to play 7, 5, 3, 2 times in a row. And then your 2-note grouping on your E string is going to be 7 and then 5. So that is... And then our last part is going to sound like this. Now I'm starting off on the A string here on the 3rd, 7th, 5th, 3rd. Go down to the next scale note here and play 2, 5, 3, 2. So again, 8 notes. On your low E string here, you're going to play 5, 3, 2, 2 times in a row. There's your 6. And then for the last 2-note grouping, I'm not playing a 7, so I don't have another string to go up here and grab 2 on. So what I'm going to do is to reiterate those last 2 notes we just played, the 3rd fret and then the 2nd fret. There's your 2 grouping. So it's like 8, 6, 2. And then lastly, I just resolved on an E power chord. Open E, 2nd A. Okay, that is a ton of notes. Let's play them here position by position. Here's our first one. Second position. Third. Fourth. Fifth. And resolve. And like I said, the real power of these patterns is that all of them begin on downstrokes and end on upstrokes. And you can see here with this downward pick slanting kind of method, do you notice how my upstrokes kind of pop out and my downstrokes kind of go into the strings like this? That's what makes it so easy for me just to dive bomb onto that next string every time. And by learning patterns like this, like these 8s and the 6s, and even the 2s, these become things that you can add to your toolbox because you know that they will always work if you're in that downward pick slanting kind of position. those 8s, those 6s, those 2s, even a 4 group will always be easy to play fast and then transfer to the next string. And don't even take this lesson as just a be-all, end-all, this is how you do it. Take those little patterns and come up with your own licks. You can take that 6 grouping, you know, the second grouping that we use in all these licks, and just move that across the strings. That's very simple and effective. See how the upstroke is always getting me to that next string? Really easy and reliable. If you know the board well enough, you could take that 8s pattern and continue moving it across a single string. That's a good Yngwie trick. Or even move it across the strings. Or something like that. It's also worth noting that the 6 pattern we've been using, plus the 2 notes on the next string, is really effective because then you're filling up 2 beats worth of 16th notes. 1 E and a, 2 E and a. So you can make up all kinds of licks using that combination of 6 plus 2, moving across the strings to stay in time with 16th notes. It's another example of 6s plus 2s moving across the strings. Again, they're very easy, very reliable patterns once you add them into your repertoire. As a reminder, you guys still have a couple days left to enter the Happy Wanksgiving BHL Wizard Pick giveaway contest that I announced last week on my channel. You have till December 6, 2017 to put up your entry on Instagram along with the hashtag Weekend Wankshop. So get to shred, maybe even employ some of these ideas in there. Thanks as always for watching. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel. You guys can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Ben Eller Guitars. You guys can find my Facebook fan page over on facebook.com/Uncle Ben Eller. And if you'd like to book some one-on-one Skype lessons with me, be sure to drop me an email, benellerguitars@gmail.com. Thanks so much for watching, and as Carl Verheyen once said, if you like it, learn it. Cheers, guys.